to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
Here we are. It is Friday afternoon. It's been a really hot week. We are tucked away in the war room in the west end of the Magic Valley, somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho, and it's kind of on fire, right?
It's hot as
Yeah,
hell.
it's north, south. Yeah, it's on fire.
We got stuff burning. We got little smoky haze in the air. So how are you guys doing this week? It's been a couple weeks.
It's been, yeah. How'd your run go?
I'm here. I'm alive. It was good. The horseflies ate on me a little bit.
Gosh.
I noticed.
None of them laid eggs, did they?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
We're fixing to find out.
Yeah, if you need, we can lance those.
I finished it in 34 miles. I finished it in 12 hours and 9 minutes. So I'm.
How much elevation?
You know what? We went up over 10,000 feet, but we started high, so we actually didn't climb that much on this race. The first race I did, we climbed like 7,200 feet, and then dropped 7,200, then back up 72, and then back down again. This one, I think we only climbed like a couple thousand, 2,000 or 3,000 feet maybe, and then we just kind of hung there. And then when we came off on the very end, we came off quick. The really cool part was I'm running on the ridge line. So one side literally, and just like I told you guys before, one side was Idaho, one side was Montana, one side was Idaho. It was awesome. I was running the Continental Divide Trail, and they had the big steel markers out there. And we were running, there's one part called the Scree Field, and it was like 4 miles, and it took you like 2 hours to get across that. It was insane. And Boulder, you'd step on them, they'd move. And I'm relatively new to this, and the good trail through the Scree Field, which there was no good trail, was like right next to the edge of the big drop-off. And I went, hell no, man, I'm going to run over here.
All those loose rocks are right next to the edge?
Yeah.
So if you step on one and slip.
So they had a 55K, which is what I ran, okay, and we started at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then they had people running 100K, which they started 2 hours sooner than us. So they started at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm on the Scree Field, so I got about 10 miles left to go. 100K runners are passing me.
Holy balls.
Yeah. These are the guys that are about that big around. They got like no body fat. They got little short shorts on, and they're just going.
Yeah.
That's me.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
So
except the short part.
I was told that if I'm gonna do this, I got to get shorter shorts. You got to get closer to the mic.
Yeah, so
Steven Tyler.
I don't want to touch it. I don't know where it's been.
I don't know where this has been.
I've been with Dean. Dean needs that one last.
Right, yeah, I took it into the office, did some pelvic exams, and
I can see that.
He splashed a little Percocet on there. Lick it.
Shoot. And did you carry on this one?
I did not carry on this one.
Was there more danger in this one? I mean, you're over there in Montana. They got bears out there.
No. We didn't see any wildlife. I was too concerned on this one.
They could smell you.
To be honest, about carrying water, because it was about 90-something degrees.
Serious?
It was hot, and I could have carried on it, but I didn't. I kind of loaded up on food. I didn't want to get delirious like I did on the last one and end up off the side of the mountain. Because they actually, one of the rules was that if you had to, as you're running, okay, sometimes you got to stop and do some business, okay? They said as you're running and you have to stop and do business, to leave your hat or your bag or something by the trail. So if you don't come back, they know where to look for you at.
Oh, serious?
That makes sense.
I mean, it's a really good idea.
A funny joke to play on somebody would just be come by and grab their hat.
Right.
Wait a second.
But no, it was a good race. It was good. So I got one more half I'm going to do up here in the South Hills, 14 miles. That'll be a couple hours, and we'll get that out of the way. So probably about 2.5 hours. That's what I did last year. It was my first one. I did in 2:20. So we're going to do it. We'll do it in at least that. But anyhow, that's not what we gathered to talk about today, right?
Well, welcome back from your trip. Glad you're not dead.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
My kids said the same thing.
Glad you didn't fall or get eaten by a bear.
They posted stuff on Facebook. Don't die, Daddy. And I'm like, what the freak?
That's a way to encourage you. Huh?
Bless their hearts.
my 16-year-old daughter, don't die, Dad. And then there was a pause, and then there was because I need you to take me hunting and help me finish my scout. And I'm like, I figured there was something.
Yeah, right, an ulterior motive.
An ulterior motive. So we'll start with you. What did you do?
I was going to start with you.
Oh, me?
Yeah. We'll just go around the room.
Well, let's do it. You're running the show today. That works for me.
Well,
that works for me. I'm fine.
Don't get so butthurt. Come on.
I'm not butthurt. No, I went shopping.
What'd you get?
Not a gun.
Oh.
I went to Best Buy trying to figure out what I needed equipment-wise to help the podcast out. So I got that, figured out how much I needed to spend, and walked out, figured I wasn't going to spend it. At least not
You did
now.
get the Wi-Fi booster.
I got the Wi-Fi booster. I spent a
whole.
whole $30 on this. Oh, I did make a big purchase, actually.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
I bought a bunch of Sims rounds and conversion kits and stuff. And once they get here, I'll be looking for 2 G19s.
Yay, we get to shoot Dean.
Wow.
Preferably beat up G19s.
Y'all got a pretty mouth.
And then last night,
Squeal like a pig.
And then last night I ordered a shot timer. So,
okay.
Wow.
Other than that, I did have a class last night. I had a church group come, which great group of guys. I'm not going to say where they're from. They didn't want me to, but they've been taking a lot of different classes, and they've got cameras at their church. They got a really good plan down, a really good system down, and they actually set up used like the FBI qualification. And they wanted me to help them run through it and then sign off on it so they could take it back, and they'd have record that they've been doing this training. And they're actually really, really good shots, really, for what they do. They get together like once a week and they go out and they practice, and I was pretty impressed. The one thing I did notice, and I didn't say anything to them, and I'm not, if they're listening, which they're good church-going people, they should probably not listen to the Patriot Defense podcast, but is the holsters that we're using. Okay, so you go to church, you're going to carry with a holster, and they're going to have like a suit coat on. These gentlemen have like a suit coat on, and they're carrying these outside the waistband holsters. But a couple of them were like, I want to call them like gaming type holsters. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You know what I'm. And we'll introduce Dan here in just a minute. So you could tell like they were using them like something uses like IDPA or something like that. And I'm like, how practical is that?
Does it print really easy? Is that
I don't know that they care that if it prints. It does just stick away from the body a little bit, which as far as them drawing and shooting, I made sure they could do that correctly and made that a breeze for them. I mean, that was actually safer with those holsters. But they weren't carrying necessarily concealed, using like an inside the waistband or something like that, which may have been a little more lifelike, a little more challenging. Okay, if you've got to draw the firearm and get so many shots on the target and score, in a certain amount of seconds. So there was that little bit of lifelike wasn't there. I mean, do you guys get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, but it works for them. And if that's the way they're going to carry church, I guess know how to use it and go for it. I mean, I'm okay with that. They all shot really good, and they didn't have any problems with the draws. A couple of the reloads were a little rough, but hey, they
practice.
One guy had it turned around wrong, and he twisted his hand, and it cost him a couple seconds. But whatever, I think it's great that they're being proactive.
Yeah, at least they're trying.
Yeah.
So is this like a dedicated security team?
Yeah.
For this group?
Yes. Yep. And
so do they take turns, or who's on duty that week at church, or
they know who's going to be there, and then I think they have them set in certain parts of the building. Certain
kind of strategically.
Yeah, strategically placed, and then they have some guys that were there that are backup. But they are over cameras, and they've got a plan in place and what they do if someone new walks into the building and greet them and all that good stuff. So
yeah.
Wow.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic that they've talked it through, that they've figured it out instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, you can carry here more." I mean, guns are great, but I mean, you kind of have to have a plan. They want to know who's carrying there, and if you want to carry, I think they're okay with that, but you need to go. You have to be vetted. You got to take some training. I mean, they've gone everywhere. They've gone to other local places. They've gone to me. They've gone up to Meridian to Forward Movement. They've done a bunch of different stuff. I mean,
that's good
for a church group. They're pretty up on it.
Yeah.
I was impressed, and the church I think is spending the money and actually paying for it, so that's even better.
Wow.
Yeah.
In fact,
That's really cool.
I got to send the guy an invoice tonight. But
boy, go Twin Falls, all right?
Yeah. So I wish a lot of churches would do that.
Yeah, be more proactive like that. Yeah,
it's fantastic. So
cool.
But that's what I've done.
Okay.
What about you? Or introduce your friend.
Okay, so Dan is one of my fellow gun counter associates. I don't know if you're comfortable giving some of your background and stuff, and introducing. I'll introduce him as Dan Lewin.
Oh, you said my last name.
Well, is that legit?
He's gonna have to kill you.
Can we edit that?
That's fine.
No, I think there's a lot of people know Dan.
I watch Hawaii 5-0 now. All the bad guys are going to be after him.
Yeah. Well, at least we're in Idaho, not Hawaii.
They know where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to stay here and never leave.
They may leave Hawaii.
Don't worry. The war room's well supplied.
So. I know. I can.
You
tell.
haven't opened my cupboard yet, unless you're stupid when I went in the house. We've even got grenades.
Yeah.
Right up my alley.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'll let you tell some about yourself because I don't want to get anything wrong. So
because you don't know, do you?
Well, I know a little bit, but I don't want to just I don't know, say the wrong thing, I guess.
Well, it's fun to be here. I've never done a podcast before. I listened to one once. In fact, it was this one. Someone was under the influence of some medication at the time.
What? Who's that?
I couldn't tell. It was a podcast. There
was it
no
a real
faces,
podcast?
Just voices.
I'm as close as I can get.
You've got a soft voice, dude.
It's not a soft voice. Well, maybe it is.
Either get closer or speak louder. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I feel like I'm yelling.
Trust me.
We have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I
editing
kinda,
is.
He can edit it down. It's all good.
I can edit it down. It's easier to edit down than it is up.
Yeah, I'm Dan. I work with Mark at the gun counter. I'm retired law enforcement. Retired 2 years ago after 28 years and 6 months service. They let me out with good behavior. And
dang, I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, 28 years and 6 months.
Did you get to blow stuff up?
I did. I ran the bomb squad here for nearly 20 years.
Awesome.
Blew a lot of stuff up.
Here in Twin?
Here in Twin, yeah. It's a regional squad, so the cool thing for Twin is that the state has 4 bomb squads total in the entire state, primarily funded by Homeland Security, trainings by the FBI, but the bomb squads are stationed. You have Nampa, Idaho Falls, Boise, and Twin Falls, and they're regional teams. So the Twin Falls team would go to all of southern Idaho, because not every police department can have a bomb squad. So we would do Cassia County, Minidoka, Blaine County, Twin Falls, Jerome, etc. But I had a lot of other jobs while I worked there as well.
So you were a sergeant.
Staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant.
Yeah, retired as a staff sergeant.
Right.
I was a sergeant once.
Okay. Okay.
Before staff sergeant.
I got you.
Did you know? Now, when did you say you retired?
2 years ago. Actually, 2 years ago this month.
Did you work with or know Ben Middlestat?
I did know Ben Middlestat.
Ben helps me he helped me with my classes.
In fact, I still know Ben Middlestat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ben's a great guy.
Yeah, he is.
I like Ben. He was with me from the get-go when he started doing my classes, and he was great. He was great in there when he did his. He was just a great guy.
I'm going to have to text him and tell him to listen to this because he, great patrol officer, became a detective, became a bomb technician.
Yep. Now he's in FBI.
Now he went to work for the FBI. So.
And his cousin is actually helping my classes now. Stacy Gurrell.
Okay, I know Stacy.
Yeah,
too.
Stacy's a great guy too. He'll be here tomorrow. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's it.
That's who Dan is.
I'm excited to be here.
Dan,
thank you for inviting me.
You're like our first, besides your buddy, you're like our first guest. Have we treated you good so far? We didn't
bring
broke out
ice
the
cream.
fan, dude.
Right.
It's very nice.
Sorry, we didn't have ice cream for you.
You could at least offer him a drink.
You've had ice cream before?
No.
Do you want a drink? Water?
In at some point.
I can go grab. Here.
Okay,
Have a sip.
Okay.
So, Dan, we do this thing where we ask, what would you do, or what have you done this week that was Second Amendment related or just gun related? It's
I think I bought a gun this week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Within the past 7 days,
Yeah,
I think I
yeah.
bought.
That's like the most exciting thing anyone's
I
done
know.
on the
It's
freaking
the best thing
podcast.
that we've
We're
had
gun
so
guys.
far. Yeah.
None of us have bought a gun since we've been doing the freaking podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did buy a gun, and then I went and got a gun. I can't say I bought it, but I went and acquired one.
Okay.
So probably 2 in the last week. And then
Oh,
I
wow.
Can
put
you
some-
tell us
Yeah,
what
which
they are?
one-
Do you mind?
No. I bought the Smith & Wesson 380 EZ.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's popular.
That's a good one.
For my wife. And I went and picked up a PWS 308.
Okay.
Dang. PW primary weapon systems.
AR.
AR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
A10.
He's
AR.
kind of a bolt guy.
It's a black gun? What?
It's a black gun.
Oh, no wonder you didn't buy it. I mean, those just kind of show up at your house at night.
Yes,
The
yes.
devil brings them by, and then,
Yes, this one was
If you don't put it-
acquired.
if you don't bless them quick, they're going to run out and start shooting people on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get Whoopi Goldberg coming over and just flogging you.
She doesn't know we're here, does she?
I don't
No,
know. I hope
no,
not.
I don't
Oh,
think she
boy.
dares step foot in Idaho. I mean,
Yeah, she.
I got a long driveway. I will stop her before she gets here.
yeah.
There's a reason why I live at the
you
end
probably
of
hear her coming. The earth starts shaking. The cracks open up in the earth. And, yeah.
There's a big one just right down the road.
That was Whoopi.
Maybe she's
Oh
been
my
here
gosh.
before.
That's
Or
what
was that one
caused
Oprah?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Dean, what about you?
I had an experience.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, get this. Okay.
I don't even know what he's talking about. This is a surprise for all
And
of
this
us.
is a real gun experience too, not just something I saw in clinic that that made my toes curl. So, wife and I are getting ready to go to bed. Our bedroom's upstairs on the front of the house. We have a wraparound driveway, a circular driveway.
Right.
So my wife is putting the fan in the window so it'll cool off. She looks down and there's someone right next to her car
Oh, man.
walking by, and so she yells out the window, "What are you doing by my car?" And so the person looks up and then just kind of runs off and then runs around the street and then runs to the house right across the street from us.
So you can see where they
We
went.
saw exactly where she went, where this person went, and they were kind of very small statured, kind of short.
Right.
So I
Did you go over? What'd you do?
I went to my closet and I got my GP 100 with a speed loader. Then I went downstairs and I got my 20 gauge Mossberg with
Did you-
right. No. The Ruger was in my pants. I put it in my pocket.
They
Put the Ruger
they
in my
call
pocket.
him two guns.
That's right.
Dean Two
just
Guns.
like Rooster Cogburn in True Grit. That's what I
Two
am
Gun
there.
Dean.
Yeah. So I grab my shotgun and I go out the door and I just kind of quietly walk around the front of my house, look around the side. Then I go around the other side, look around. Then I walk out to the street and a guy comes out of the house from across the street where this person had run to. He comes out. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I am sorry. It was my wife. She was looking for our child. That our child was we just found the kid. He went across the street the other way to our neighbor's house.
Right.
And my wife was over there looking for, it was his wife. He said she was looking for our child. I'm like, okay, you scared the shit out of me. You made me go get my shotgun. What the hell? And the wife came out of the house too, twiddled over, and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry." I don't know. She went over and talked to my wife too, and my wife told her, "You scared the crap out of us. What the hell are you doing? We've had people breaking into our cars." And anyway, my wife tongue lashed her, but she was very gracious. The lady that was across the street. But anyway, that was my experience.
Maybe she'll bring you cookies now.
Oh yeah, they did. They brought us cookies.
Nice.
They did.
So
Actually, not cookies. They brought us cherries. They have a bunch of cherry trees. So they
Okay.
brought us a big bunch of Bings and Rainiers.
There you go.
Yeah, so we're still friends.
Well, that's good. That was so.
On
I mean,
Sunday, I saw them out in their front yard throwing a knife at their tree.
well, they saw you wanted to come over to their house with firearms.
Yeah,
They were-
He's practicing now.
exactly. I wondered, what are you guys doing?
And the kid knows where to hide now, too. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
if I go across the street, my parents will never look for me over there.
That
ever
guy comes
again.
out with
That's
comes
true.
out with
Okay.
guns.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, that was what I did.
Exciting times.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
we're back to you now, buddy.
I did diddly squat. I mean,
You worked.
I worked. I sold sold a couple guns, maybe.
Anything interesting?
Yeah. A nice SIG.
No.
Oh yeah.
Those
Yeah,
SIGs
no.
SIGs are boring.
Did you sell
any fancy guns?
No. Well, no. Unless
you like to hear about those people.
Yeah. So Dan sold a Glock 10mm.
Oh, there you
go.
Interesting.
And then I didn't really sell the gun. The guy came in and pretty much knew what he wanted. He bought the Navy Edition P226.
What makes it a Navy Edition?
It
says Navy Edition.
It's got a different extractor. It's got like different features to it. Basically, like it's a shorter extractor.
Is it like marine coated?
Marine. Yeah, it's made for
marine grade.
Yeah, marine grade and salt. It'll resist the salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a nice gun. I mean, it's $1,000 gun. It's
jeez.
Yeah.
What's it going to do with a marine grade weapon in Idaho?
I don't know, but he knew exactly what he was looking for.
I'll be darned.
So
$1,000 for a SIG.
Yeah, I didn't really have to sell that one. He knew what he wanted. So
and it wasn't even a SIG 1911.
No, it's a double action,
for
single action. So
yeah.
They do make it in a single action, which is similar to 1911, but yeah, not at all the same.
But not
grips
forged
and everything.
Not forged by Adam, handed down from father to son until Moses. No, nothing.
I'm getting excited. We're talking about guns.
Ew.
So I did a little.
Do we need to leave?
You might need to leave
use
for
the
a
restroom there, Todd.
Better yet, I'm thinking about my PD-10.
Oh my gosh.
This stupid gun is going to come out one of these days.
Did they find hair samples this time? They do DNA on it and find out it was just a dog.
I actually spent like 45 minutes trying to find anything. I haven't found anything. I found one thing. Rob Pincus did an interview and it said he might be giving up the release date of the PD-10 and nothing. Nothing.
Wait, the only news was there might be news.
There might be a release date. But I've worked this gun up. Even if it turns into a piece of crap, if it ever comes out, I have to buy one now.
Yeah. I'm
going to buy two of them.
Oh, it's going to be $1,000 paperweight.
Did you ever get a chance to see Bigfoot?
See Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Did I ever get a chance?
Yeah. Have you ever seen him?
Oh, crap.
No.
Yeah, we've never seen this gun either.
Yeah.
I figure it's hiding in the woods throwing rocks at people. This gun.
Yeah, serious.
I think I heard him once, but
it's
kind of like.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a 9mm.
Be out soon.
Oh, hey, you know what? Next SHOT Show's coming up, so it'll probably be at SHOT Show again for the third time.
Right. Yeah.
But you won't be.
You know what though? He's probably right. I don't get invited to SHOT Show. I apply for SHOT Show. I go online, do what I'm supposed to, and I never hear back from these freaking people.
And what about any of your friends in the community that you support?
You got me going on this. So there's people. You're supposed to, if you're part of the gun industry, you're supposed to be not too hard to get passes to SHOT Show. There's people that aren't even in the freaking industry that show up at SHOT Show. These stupid Facebook comedians. They have nothing to do with firearms.
How do they get their
They're
tickets?
a freaking SHOT Show, and they're actually out at the range day shooting these stupid firearms. They don't know crap. They have nothing to do with firearms. The guy makes a video in his freaking truck.
Celebrities,
Sorry.
Well, maybe now that you're doing Facebook Live, maybe you'll get your tickets. I mean, if that's what it takes. Here, show them the cutout. There it is. There it is.
As much bad mouthing as we do about SHOT Show, you really think they're going to invite me?
You're going to be really upset here in a moment, I think.
Yeah, that's probably why they
He's searching
don't
for
ever
pictures.
No, this picture that I showed you earlier.
Yeah,
with that guy from that
the guy
TV
from
show.
the TV show, the Clark County.
That's at the range at SHOT Show.
Yeah, let me see. Let me see which guy is it.
That's why I said you're going to be really upset here in a moment.
So yeah, those kind of people.
We shot guns together.
So those guys from what the hell are they doing at SHOT Show?
Oh, they touched a gun on
Probably
TV once.
enjoying themselves, I would assume. But
it's okay. You know what? I want to go to SHOT Show, but I almost have while it's going on. I almost have more fun sitting here and bitching about it for 2 weeks.
2 weeks all year.
Pretty
that's
much.
A running joke. That's
it
never
comes
gonna
back.
die.
It shows up about once a month. It rears its ugly head again.
Right.
But okay, well, do we have any thoughts from behind the gun counter? Anything?
Actually,
deep thoughts. From
we talked about it while you were gone.
Okay,
Dan actually has one.
Hey,
and I think Dan's perspective is going to be pretty good because he's not really new, but he's fairly new to the gun counter.
because
So
he's blown shit up before.
No, I'm
Well,
new.
no, I
I,
mean,
am
it's just
new
that-
to the gun counter. I am new. These guys are very nice to me because when I started there, it was kind of like, hey, you want to work here? And I was like, sure, but I'm not really a gun guy. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. You're not a gun guy. But I'm not really a gun guy when real gun guys come in and ask for things I've never heard of before or use phrases, cool gun phrases that I'm not, up to speed on. That kind of proves I'm not a gun guy. But I've experienced things for the first time on the retail side of things.
Retail sucks.
The retail side of things that I'd never experienced before. So I'm getting kind of acclimated to the whole other side of society, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to buy a gun, you're coming in to buy a gun.
Right.
And you have 2 small infant children with you. Okay?
it's a good one. This is a good one.
Please. One, think about childcare before coming in to purchase a gun.
Change their diaper,
It's very
feed them,
difficult to hold
tape their mouth shut.
one child that's, squirming and crying, and while you're trying to, with your other hand, type or fill out the form, let alone look at your handgun with your small child in the other hand while the second child is down knocking on your knees wanting you to pick them up, and then they both begin to cry, and you just continue with your transaction that takes quite a while.
It takes twice as long.
Just go put
because-
them in the car
Oh
and
my
crack the
gosh.
windows. It'll only take a few minutes.
See,
Make sure you park in the shade.
don't leave crayons in cars.
That's
okay?
Gosh, yeah.
I saw that commercial. Okay.
So yeah,
Well,
no,
good.
That's
on
a
your
good.
way
That's
to
a
the-
really good point, though.
On your way to the gun counter, you could drop them off on the dog aisle and let them play with the toys.
Have them look.
Put them in the rabbit cage.
Yeah.
Mom went somewhere looking at other things, but they both wanted to stay with Dad. I'm just saying it's difficult.
no, it is. It is.
And
Yeah.
they were, when they're crying and they're fussy and
Well, see, there you go.
Sorry about that.
that's probably my most recent thought from behind
No, that's
the
actually,
counter.
and that happens a lot, and I don't ever think about that. But that's a good point. That's a really good thought.
Be prepared when you go to the gun counter.
Yeah. Wow.
Keep talking here. We
I think
lost,
that-
we lost our live
sure.
feed. I gotta
What?
get our live.
What'd you
feed,
do?
but we-
Did that phone call cut it off?
I think so.
Todd's phone just wrecked the live feed to Facebook.
Dang it.
Have mercy.
Okay.
I don't know.
Who was logged on? Do you think your viewers?
Everybody.
So yeah,
The-
Philip
all
was
6
on.
of them
All 6 of them.
were on there.
Right.
Double-
So Dan, when you were
he
in
was
the
double fisting his guns.
when you were
What?
gosh when you were in the service, what did you carry? What was your go-to sidearm?
A myriad of different firearms over the years. So, and I'm not poking fun, but maybe at Mark a little bit. He's not that young, and I'm not that old, but I actually started with a 38 revolver.
Did you really? What was it? What kind?
It was
A Smith?
Smith and Wesson 38
It's still showing we're
revolver
live over here.
with little speed loaders. It was kind of funny.
Was it a small frame, little one?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then what'd you move to?
Then I moved to a GP 100 of all things you
All
mentioned
right.
earlier.
Yeah.
I went to the academy with my new 357 Magnum
Right? And speed loaders.
and only qualified at the academy.
Right.
Yeah, the first agency that I worked for, I never shot the gun even
Yeah,
to
it's-
qualify
it's
with.
going slow.
Really?
It wasn't until I went to the academy that I shot it and qualified.
Well, be
Because
darned.
it was I started with a really small agency for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And we really didn't have a firearms instructor and we had to buy all of our own stuff. We had to buy our own gun, our own belt, all of that, And
I'm
then
on my phone, so
when I came
I'm
to
not
Twin
on your-
Falls years later, I mean, we, over the years, had Glocks, we had Smith and Wessons, then we went back to Glock, and then I think we went back to Smith and Wesson, and then just before I retired, we went back to Glock.
Were all your semi-autos 9mm?
Not all. Initially they were, but I like what they did towards the end. There was always that kind of mindset, and you'll hear these arguments that, everybody on the department's got to have the same bullet, But I never had that event happen where I was like diving over the hood of the car, yelling at you to throw me a mag. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So it made more sense and it became more practical to them. And organizationally, Twin Falls, just before I retired, allowed officers to select a choice of caliber, whether it was 9 or 45. But
really,
they had to show some aptitude, or they had to be able to qualify with it and do a good job, or they weren't allowed to carry it.
Just those two calibers? They couldn't have 40?
I don't think we had the 40. We may have, but I don't recall that. I only recall the 9 and the 45.
Interesting.
But it made more sense because we switched to 45s at one time because the then firearms gurus said, nope, we have to have a 45. The 9's not going to do the job. We have to have a 45. But then you had several people that could not qualify with the 45.
Really?
But were phenomenal shots with a 9. So it made more sense and let them pick. We just switched back to Glock. So they allowed officers to choose the model, frame size, etc., in either 9 or 45. There may have been some 40s, but I don't recall that.
What was your favorite?
Sucks.
Listen to you.
What did he say? 40 sucks.
So of all the years that you were in there,
now I feel like I'm behind the gun counter again because it's the guys that walk up and they're like, I don't shoot anything less than the 45, just the 45.
That's deep.
And then, other guys just want a 10, some guys want a 40, and all other rounds suck. And, I shot a 9.
Was that your favorite round?
Hey, 9 right there, straight from.
Isn't he the 45 guy?
Yeah,
I'm the.
Oh,
9.
you're the 45 guy.
Oh, I'm the 9 guy.
Yeah,
dude.
he's the
Don't
9
get.
guy.
We
don't
had
get
some
that wrong.
OIS, officer-involved shootings that made us look at what we were shooting, not only the gun, but the caliber, and did a lot of testing with different rounds. And I think after officer-involved shooting that we had years ago in the mid-'90s, I think that's when they kind of said, you know what, we need to find the appropriate round. We just can't keep buying this, full metal jacket,
right.
stuff, just because it's cheap and we
good
shoot so much
self-defense
of
hollow
it.
point.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just preferred the 9. I shot well with the 45. We had 45s for a while. I didn't shoot like expertly with it, but I was certainly able to qualify. Didn't have any issues with that. But I have more 9s than anything. Someone log on.
Somebody's asking Dan to tell a story about if you shoot a 38 through a hole of another 38, is that now a 76?
So I got a
Why are they asking me that question?
Well, you know this guy that's
So I got
Really?
I got a question. So do we have 2 live videos rolling?
I don't know. I'm
the two
not doing
cameras, so
live.
Is it a different perspective on each computer?
Did they just text you? Is that what they did?
Yeah, no, they just text me.
Okay,
so.
gotcha.
Yeah, sorry.
So I want to throw this out there. Someone screwed up and anyhow their phone rang. That's never happened before.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know the rules.
Yeah. And it messed up our Facebook Live video deal. So anyhow, I reinstated another one. We've got 1 listener, but we lost the majority of them.
It shows 7 on mine.
I don't know how this technology works. We're just going to let it roll. I guess you need to look at comments over there.
Anyway, yeah, so Philip and Josh say hi. I don't know if you're getting these or not.
I'm not.
Okay, Tori Harvey's saying, what's up, Todd? We got Chrissy Osborne. Hello, Todd. Hello. Yep. You already answered that one, so. They're saying to spend your money, Todd, because you can't take it with you.
I saw that one.
Okay.
So, okay, well.
Yeah, buy 2 PD-10s.
Buy 2 PD-10s.
Yeah, then you'll have 2 mythical creatures in your gun cabinet.
Hey, you'd be the only one.
So
That's right.
There can only be one.
There going to be 2.
I'm fascinated here, Dan, by your experience with the department and the different calibers and firearms. So what was it like switching from revolver to a semi-auto?
I thought it was
it for the best?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I worked for, like I said, I got out of the Air Force in 1987. Okay. After getting out of the Air Force, I became a police officer in a small town north of Twin Falls for about 2 years. And then that's where we had a wheel gun, a revolver,
right. The J-frame Smith.
Yes. And it was so cool to be able to go to a place in Twin Falls and purchase my own 357, GP 100, and
those are those slow bullets.
And it kind of stuck out, it looked really cool on the gun belt, it kind of.
Those are a weighty gun.
And you'd kind of rest your hand on it, just to look cool.
Yeah.
But I ended up going to work after that for the Blaine County Sheriff's Office for a couple of years. And they had, and don't throw rocks at me, and I don't know what you guys like here, okay? But for me, going from the wheel gun, Blaine County had the Beretta 92F, okay? And that was pretty exciting to go from a wheel gun to this pretty cool semi-automatic. And I shot it very well.
It weighs 12 pounds.
Yeah, that's probably why I shot it.
I never could shoot a Beretta very well, but I always liked them.
Those ones I could shoot well.
I always liked a Beretta. I don't know why. I couldn't shoot it worth a darn, but I liked it.
I still do. I hear bad things, especially it was sometime after that the military started to issue them. That was several years later. But, and I heard a lot of, military people,
not very happy,
bad mouth them, et cetera. But I liked my Beretta 92F, and maybe it was because it was my first semi-auto, et cetera. And then going to Twin for the last 25 years of my sentence. We had a lot of different guns, but like I said, between the 9 and the 45, and I think we even did a 10 for a while.
Did you really?
We did 40s.
Wow.
I don't know. Someone can phone in or chime in on Facebook or something and
we're not sure if Facebook
and say
Live
no,
is
you
even
never had
at this
10s,
point.
Dan.
So of all those firearms that you'd used, which one was your favorite to use to carry?
I don't think I had.
Did you prefer one over another?
No.
You'd always go at this point. Would you ever carry a wheel gun again?
No.
Well, that's a good.
You just crushed. Right. You just crushed Dean's dreams.
But that's an honest answer.
That's an answer. Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
No. If I was like an Alaska State Trooper out in the bush and could have like this huge,
monster
like
460
X-frame
Ruger, Black Hawk,
Red Hawk,
shoulder or chest strap thing, I would, all day long.
I looked into those holsters; they're not cheap.
But I would still have, a semi-auto with a lot of bullets.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
So capacity is a big thing for you.
Yes, for me.
Good.
Because like I said, I was never an expert shot,
mm-hmm.
but I could shoot a lot.
Right.
Well, and it's one of those things in a self-defense situation, whether it be law enforcement or the average everyday citizen, your shot accuracy is going to drop by like 80% under stress anyway. So the more rounds you have, the better. I mean, in my book, I'd rather have 19 than 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Dean's staring at me like...
I'm starting to come around, Todd.
I know you are.
Ever since that article that we shared about bears, the shooting the bears.
Yeah.
And how there were so many 9mm one-shot stops on bears.
Yeah. With the right bullet and it's all about the shot that hits.
Yeah,
that's what counts.
Yeah.
So.
And with the quality of bullets anymore, it's. The hollow points
come
now
a long
in a
ways.
9, they're a lot better.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
Yeah, technology's evolved and everything else.
Right.
So we have this whole list. Did you?
Well, I was going to get into the list a little bit.
Get into the video.
Yeah,
Let's go right to that video.
Well, I was going to touch on something that's more local first.
Go for it.
Dan and I actually were talking about this. He's actually trying to get me to leave D&B Supply to go to another job.
You leaving the area?
No. It would, just go into the school system and be a target. I mean, a bodyguard.
Gotcha.
Stop it.
No.
But you're gonna make like $24,000 a year.
Right,
but yet your uniforms look really comfy.
But Dan and I were actually talking about this at the gun counter.
What is that? Like $8 an hour?
I don't even know. I haven't even figured it out.
Serious.
Probably the high school dropouts.
The high school or the Twin Falls School District is hiring, I don't know, what was it, 15 or whatever, security guards, basically hall monitors, but not armed, That's like the biggest thing that I'm like, okay, so what good are you?
Observe and report.
Observe and report. You're working for the school system, not for the, police department, even though it's going to be overseen by a school resource officer. I'm not entirely sure what this is all about.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay. My brother works in the school system, and he says right now he's worked in a few different schools around here and even up in Kansas and stuff. And he says this is what's going to happen. And he's not knocking anyone. He's not knocking school resource officers. He says, but after a while, they get bored. And he goes, he's like, I just want to grab him and say, you want to know where the drug deal is? Because I can show you where the drug deal is. Do you want to know where this is going on? Because I can show you where this is going on. And like I said, I'm not digging on law enforcement, Dan.
I'm going to dig back.
Okay, that's fine.
Keep going, because I'm totally on board with you.
But they get bored, and they're in this building. They get bored, and maybe they're doing their rounds like they're supposed to, or whatever it is. But they're missing stuff. They're not paying attention. They're stopping and they're talking over here, and they're stopping and they're talking over there.
So they get so bored, they're not quite as sharp.
Right.
They get antipathy,
and they have the firearm. They're supposed to be the line of defense, right? And now we're going to hire 14 people. What are we going to give them? Rulers or cap guns or something?
I mean, stern voice.
A t-shirt with a target on the front of it.
Because
that's essentially all they are.
Do they still have books in school? I mean,
I don't even know. My kids bring home freaking computers.
I know. I've never seen my kids with books anymore. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's all on computer. The teacher puts assignment. Anyhow, we don't go down that road. We can go talk. That's a whole other podcast we should start.
Yeah, we could. I have a good story for that. The whole homework. I mean, I remember my kids are both grown and adults now, but I remember for some reason it seemed like middle school they had just an inordinate amount of homework, and you'd see their backpacks. I mean, just filled with like 8 books. They could hardly carry it. And they would come home and they would have really a lot of homework. So I told my daughter one day, I said, "Here's what we're going to do. Okay. I'm going to send you to school with a laundry basket, an ironing board, and an iron. And in your first period of class, I just want you to just walk in, set the ironing board up, plug the iron in, and start getting clothes out of the basket. And when your teacher says, 'What are you doing?' I want you to say, 'Well, my dad said since you send schoolwork home, he's going to send homework to school.'" Okay.
There you go.
We never did it, but I thought it would be kind
cool.
of
it'd be
funny.
awesome.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But I mean, that's what I think. That's what I think is going to happen. Okay, I think what it is I think they've probably received pressure, obviously, to do something, and they went ahead and did this, and they think it's going to be they're going to solve everything.
Right. They're going to pat themselves on the back and say, "We did something."
They did something, yes. Yeah. But, just across the canyon from us, I think Jerome is taking a little bit. It's still not perfect, but it's
a little the right direction.
It is, because they're using body cameras. I think there was something about they're going to have guns, but they're going to be locked up or something like that. I mean,
they're going to have rifles there.
Yeah, at least you're a little more prepared, even though it's not exactly perfect. But at least you're better off that way than you would be just blindly going into school and becoming a target.
And then the news came out today that Xavier Charter School actually, they approved this a while back, that employees, if they wanted to come to the board and talk to them about carrying a gun while they were at work, while they were at school, they could do so. And they actually approved one of the teachers to carry a firearm at school.
Just one?
Just one so far. That's the only one that's asked. So wow. I think I know who the person is, and that's fine. I'm not going to give out names. They didn't want to name the person in the article.
That's probabty smart.
They don't want anybody knowing who it is.
They don't want to know who it is.
Right, exactly, and that's kind of what they're getting at. But, man, when my kids went to school there years ago, we worked hard on trying to get them to. I went to many school board meetings trying to get that allowed, and it never quite made it there. But maybe I planted the seed, right?
Good job.
So, big pat on the back for me. I'm taking credit for this one.
It's all you, Todd. All you.
But anyhow, at least they're trying to do something. But I'm interested to see how the Twin Falls one is gonna pan out.
How long is it going to last?
I don't know. They're not paying these people anything.
Yeah, they're not paying them enough, so they're really going to get cream of the crop coming in there to
in the article that we're going to have to lure them in with the benefits.
Yeah, lure them in. That's just horrible.
Are they going to get them a peanut butter parfait every Friday?
Maybe.
How can they afford that?
I'm sorry. That's a bad choice of words to lure them in.
But anyhow, I'm sure there'll be more news stories come out about that, and we'll see what happens. But I've posted a big, there's a video I posted. Did you get a chance to watch the video?
Yeah, I watched the video.
You watched it?
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Of a car chase. And the guy is down in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And they're chasing the bad guy, and the bad guy is shooting at him while they're driving down the road.
Yeah,
and
shots fired.
Shots fired.
This is not a rural area, too.
It's in the middle of everything.
Right. And then you see the law enforcement officer. You see him start shooting through his window.
Well, first, he sticks the gun out the window.
Yeah.
Not able to aim and just starts letting go rounds downrange.
And then shoots through the window.
And after that, then he switches hands.
Ends up shooting the guy
with his dominant hand then through the windshield.
So I want to say what I want to say.
So they're murder suspects, first of all.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it was just
a
bad
guess
deal.
I don't know the ins or out, and this is what we're going to find out. We're gonna talk to Dan. He's going to tell us his thoughts on it. I'm going to say my thoughts on it, and I don't know what they teach. I'm not in law enforcement. I don't know what's okay, what's not okay. I do know that things go a little crazy under stress during stressful situations, especially with a firearm.
When you're getting shot at, it's a totally different
as an instructor.
story.
I'm going to point this out. The guy is probably lucky; he still has the thumb at the rate he was shooting.
Right? Did you see that at the end of the video?
Yeah,
he was using the revolver grip.
But anyhow, it is what it is. Under stress, you're going to do whatever it is you got to do, and it is. But that's why you train, go practice, go train, try to develop muscle memory. And maybe he had practiced, and maybe he had trained, and maybe that's where his muscle memory took him. And if he hadn't trained and he hadn't practiced, maybe it would have ended up. It
would have been a lot worse. Yeah.
So anyhow, let's go to Dan. You tell me what you think, Dan.
I watched the video several times, and then I listened to their news briefing, and really took notes regarding their policy, because that's what drives a lot of things for officers is their policy, their procedure. They have to know it. They're tested on it. They have to train in accordance with policy. So nationally, most organizations do not allow shooting from a moving vehicle or at a moving vehicle.
Right.
Most policies are written such that they don't prohibit it altogether. It's not a carte blanche. You can never do it, because they would never have a policy that binds an officer into not being able to do something.
Locks them down, right?
Yeah, when lives are at risk, et cetera. So I paid attention to their wording of their policy, and it's written like most. It talks about typically officers should never fire from a moving vehicle or at a moving vehicle. Only, if there is an imminent threat against, public, life. But then they go on to say, in their policy, it's Nevada, it's Las Vegas Metro. They talk about people, imminent threat to people, rights, or property, So that's pretty broad, in my opinion, But then they go on to actually, I like in their press release that they actually read in part those sections of their policy, because they know that they're going to be asked about it.
People, rights, and property.
People, rights, and property.
They pulled that right out of the Declaration of Independence.
I would hope so.
Absolutely. Those are the three rights guaranteed by the Declaration of Independence immediately.
Right.
So we all know the pursuit of happiness.
I'm thinking like a supervisor while all this is playing out, because we did have pursuits in Twin Falls.
Right.
And there were times that we were chastised for not continuing to pursue, because oftentimes, in fact, the majority of the time historically, a supervisor would terminate the pursuit because the risks to the public outweighed the offense or suspected offense. You can, during their press release, they tell you all about these bad guys. They tell you all about their criminal history, their past, what they're suspected of being involved in that morning. They are homicide suspects. Homicide occurred at 7:30 in the morning, 7:24 in the morning. This vehicle description is given. And at 9:30, some 2 hours later, is when the officer sees this vehicle matching the description. Of course, the bad guys take off. It can probably lead him to think this is probably those guys from this morning. You know? But now it's 9:30 in the morning. This is a metropolitan area. So I'm thinking like a supervisor and thinking about at what point would I terminate this pursuit, or would I, I don't want to second guess what these officers did. It aggravates the hell out of me when people sit there and watch and have the time, like me, to watch a video, dissect it, rewind it, and say all the goofy stuff that we've heard over the years, like, well, why didn't they tase him? Why didn't they shoot him in the leg? All those kinds of things,
Right.
So I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy. I'm just saying as it ticked by, I'm thinking about all the other traffic, both motor vehicle and pedestrian traffic, that these cars are whizzing by. He is asking for an air unit, which I think is cool.
Yeah,
we don't have that here, but for the sake of argument, would the suspects continue to have shot their guns randomly here, there, and everywhere had the police no longer been chasing them?
So they could have.
That's typically why you would terminate a pursuit.
But then the air units up high could still kind of track them.
I never heard a response. I was anxious to hear that, but it ended too quickly for that to happen. He asked for a air unit, and you can actually hear I think he wants out of this thing. I think he knows that there is this inherent risk to the public, and he's saying, I need an air unit. And he says it quite excited.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he's trying to get eyes over so that they can back off.
Right.
He even warns another police car that gets up there ahead, back off, they're shooting at you. They go through an intersection that, there were 5 volleys of shots by the suspects. So, and they go through this one intersection it could have been the second or third, probably the third volley of shots, close to the end. And it is a very, very packed intersection. There are cars on all 4 sides of the intersection. And as the suspect vehicle turns right, you see the passenger leaning out the passenger side, firing back. And I'm just thinking, where are those rounds going? You know?
Right.
Yeah. The innocent bystanders. It's not just the police that are being fired at, So you're going to have arguments all around that say, would these two have continued to pose a risk to the public had they terminated the pursuit? Let's say there wasn't an air unit. Would they have just, gotten away? The shooting, the firing from the vehicles would have stopped. We've had officers debate and, with a supervisor who has terminated a pursuit for things far less than that in Twin Falls. It's a populated area. You don't know what this building is that they're coming to rest at until the news briefing. You find out that's an elementary school.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I don't
know that.
See, and
that's
I don't
Hollingsworth Elementary School.
Wow.
That the vehicle actually, where the pursuit ends, the vehicle hits the side of the building. Ooh. The driver bails out
at least
and
it was
runs.
Summertime.
Wow.
Yeah. Are there school programs, summer school programs?
Lunch or something.
Yeah. He runs up the stairwell and tries to get in that door to the school. The driver does.
Oh.
The passenger then hops over into the driver's side of the vehicle and puts it in reverse and tries to back up into the officer's vehicle. So more shots are fired. But it's like whenever we had a pursuit and it was coming anywhere near a school, you have to have a lot of people forward thinking, whether it's the supervisor, sometimes it's just an officer, sometimes it's just a dispatcher. So I don't know what Las Vegas Metro has in place, because we would try and if any pursuit that we had was going anywhere in the direction of the school, we were immediately notifying that school to lock down.
Lock down.
Right. It certainly posed, these guys are bad dudes, but let's say, I don't like when they announce that stuff in a press release, because I'd rather go into it as, here's a vehicle that resembles or looks like the suspect vehicle in a homicide this morning, and they're just failing to yield. They're trying to get away. Now they're shooting at me. Do I continue to chase them? Do they pose a threat to society? If let's say that I just stop. Are they going to continue to just drive down the road and shoot back at? Probably not. They're shooting at cops,
Right.
Yeah.
But are these people that we want roaming around out there? What other things might they be involved in? What risk do they pose to society? So there's
you've got to weigh it on both.
So many factors that, and here's the other thing that I don't like, and I'm getting my airtime here.
No, that's
Oh,
great.
yeah,
good.
you're
That's
great.
good stuff.
This is awesome.
This is
I don't
awesome.
like that, police officers are damned if they do and damned if they don't. And that's kind of where they find themselves.
Yeah.
I actually, across the board from very, very small agencies to very, very large agencies, you have a broad spectrum of people that become police officers, some for a little amount of pay, some with, and this isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that some agencies don't require any collegiate level education. Some bare minimum is a GED. Others require a 4-year degree.
Right.
So I don't want to say caliber because I don't agree with that at all. I mean, you're going to have a guy that wants to be a police officer for all the right reasons. He really wants to be a police officer, but he's not able to get on with one of these larger agencies. So he is that guy that works in this small town, and he might be on by himself. The Shoshone Police Department had a shooting not too long ago with one of their relatively newer officers. Traffic stop, guy took off, cop chases him, car crashes, guy comes out with a gun and shoots at the cop, and the officer fired back and hit him, did not kill him. For Vegas, they even mentioned at their news release that this was their 10th officer-involved shooting for the year, fatality number 5. And
one of the 2 suspects passed away, right?
Right. The passenger who became the driver was the one that was killed. But they actually compare that to like last year's, and I'm not spoofing on this. I'm sure that they do these briefings because they anticipate what's going to be asked of them by the media. But very formal, very well done media release by the under sheriff there who was given it. But he talks about this is our 10th officer involved shooting this year, our 5th fatality. Last year at this time, I think they had an equal amount of maybe like 11 officer involved shootings and like 6 fatals. So it was just kind of eerie and weird to me that like, boy, they're kind of at the same stats this time this year that they were last year,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not driven by, the officers, and people can debate that all the time. But I just felt, I'm proud of people that want to be police officers for the right reasons, despite the criticism they get. They have to make decisions in a nanosecond. And what's sad is there are officers who have made a legitimate mistake. They didn't have any intent. They didn't do something on purpose. We've seen those, and they should be punished for that. But the ones that make a legitimate mistake risk being prosecuted criminally, going to prison themselves for making a mistake. We pay doctors, $250,000 a year plus, and we expect them to not make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to pay our police officers $45,000 a year and expect the same thing.
Right.
No mistakes. That's my platform.
No, that's
for
fine.
Yeah,
No, that's
Very intelligent analysis. We really appreciate you
That's awesome.
sharing that.
That is very awesome.
I feel
Blow
about this
this
big
up.
now after the comments that I made at the beginning.
Oh, I can go more.
My
You
only-
think about all these. I mean, I had pursuits. I had a pursuit that ended up in a shooting, just a couple years before I retired. And you have a pursuit that's coming into town. It's 8:00 on a Friday morning. And you're thinking to yourself, one, we don't know why they're chasing this person. It's an other agency
right.
that is chasing this vehicle, and they are coming into Twin Falls at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. And I happen to be the ship supervisor.
I know exactly which one you're talking
And
about.
I say right on the radio to the dispatcher, I said, I need to know the reason for the pursuit. Now think about it in real time. Watch these videos, and shame on anyone that second guesses all this, because you also have to think about the delay in communications, because I'm talking to a dispatcher is talking to the dispatcher from that other agency,
Right.
who is talking to that officer.
But meanwhile, stuff's happening.
It's coming.
It's not pausing.
It's coming at 100 miles an hour.
Right.
And I'm just asking, can we find out what the reason for the stop was, or why they're chasing this person? And now it's coming in before I have an answer.
Right.
So I tell my officers that we are not going to get involved in this. It's 8 o'clock on a Friday morning. People are going to work, kids are going to school, et cetera. And the best that we can do is try and just clear the intersections ahead of this pursuit. But fortunately, the pursuing agency opted to terminate, let them go, and they did slow down, but they're still trying to get away. They drove around Twin Falls a little bit and then back out of town, but then ended up coming back in on pole line, getting in an accident, and then there was a shooting, and it was a very, very bad day.
Yeah, I got that. I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
And I was right there during all of it, and you're trying your damnedest not to let anyone get hurt, but it's at the action, like these two guys in Vegas can't dictate their actions, only they can, So this yucca-puck that drove into Twin Falls, a few years ago and crashed his vehicle and ran into a business and shot and killed someone, that's on him. Every officer there was trying their damnedest to prevent anyone from getting hurt. And I think that's what these Vegas officers were trying to do. I have questions about just me, not second guessing them, not saying it was wrong to do, but I don't know if they trained to shoot through the windshield of a car. I'd like to see, what does the round do, when it penetrates, the interior of my windshield?
I guarantee
Todd's got some vehicles out here. We can.
Did it reach their vehicle? Or were the incapacitating, shots the ones that were fired? Something made that vehicle abruptly pull over. I think someone's wounded. I think someone's hit. And I know the officer fired out his driver's side window as well. And those were the ones that made it look like that vehicle abruptly hit the wall.
I heard that when you shoot through glass, especially depending on the thickness and the way it's angled, you'll shoot and then your bullet will go totally, you know what I'm saying, like the opposite direction or something like that.
Until he shoots it enough times, he's got a hole.
Until you shoot it, but you can tell he was shooting it, and then he kind of changed the angle of his gun and shot a few more times through it. So maybe he got that hole busted.
It really looked like to me that he was
not hearing well.
No, it really looked like to me, I think, and you could probably even agree with this, as an instructor, it looked like despite everything that's going on, he's got a chase, he's being shot at, etc. And when he puts the handgun on the steering wheel, it looks like he's actually trying to acquire the best sight picture that he can.
No, it did. It does.
It was like impressive. A two-handed
shooting out the window. He's just throwing lead down range, and he's really putting the people around in danger. But when he does bring it up on the windshield, he's got a platform. He can acquire a sight picture, and he can aim.
Regardless of how, if anyone. And I think we'd know by now if I think the media would be all over it if there had been any innocents injured.
Right.
We
would have known.
And if there had been, then all of these questions, same questions that we have, would be being asked.
Yeah.
Do you train for this? How often do you train for this? Is this allowed? Is it not allowed? What would have happened if you would have just terminated the pursuit? Could you have located them later? Except all that second guessing and after the fact questions, come up. I'm actually, when it was all said and done, I have these same questions, in my mind as it's going. Like, it's cool. The dispatcher asks him if he's hurt, but I have these same questions. But when it was all said and done, I kind of sat there and just went, good job, guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, job's done. Yeah.
These are bad dudes. If you listen to their, their past criminal history, and I don't like taking that into account beforehand.
Right.
Because they don't know who these guys are. They don't know what their criminal history is. They don't know. So I don't like that they paint that picture of anyone when they're doing media releases, because it's kind of off the table, or it was not even on the table when we were pursuing the person.
Kind of feels like they're trying to dress it up.
It can.
A little bit.
It can. Let's just take it for what we suspect them to have been involved in. Now they're shooting at us, They've committed, they're murder suspects. Now they've committed, attempted murder on a protected person, all these things. But if some innocent had been injured, they would have to answer all of the questions about training, how often,
why they did what they did.
Have you done any testing with your rounds to see what it does or where they go from the interior of a windshield that, is angled, this way as opposed to, all those kinds of things.
I guess what it boils down to too is with the influx of body cams, being the big thing and stuff, the public is gonna start seeing stuff that they don't see, and it may surprise them, may shock them, but it may be something that's old school that they've done for a long time. Does that make sense?
Totally.
We're gonna see what really happens, and it might be like, whoa, like this. My gosh, he tried to shoot through the windshield as he's driving down the road. Might thought maybe that's a commonplace occurrence, or maybe they were trained to do that and we just didn't realize it. But when people see those videos, they get shocked.
Yeah, and these aren't rookies. I mean, the Officer Yumana, I think his name was a 17-year-old veteran. The other one's a 12-year veteran. Both these guys are in their 40s. These aren't new 21-year-old guys straight out of the academy. I mean, these guys have been on the job for a while and probably have been involved in very high-stress situations. And it'd be interesting to find out if they do train for these types of things.
I really give kudos to those officers though, because that being in that stressful situation like that, I don't know that I think they handled it as good as they possibly could have.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's kudos to them for that for sure.
I think we can all just say glad it was them and not me.
Exactly. So here's what we got going on. Thank you for looking into that for us.
That was great.
That was like probably the most deepest thing we've ever had.
Well, we'll see how many sneers, rants and raves I get.
We'll see. We had one guy in here. He thought he was going to get horrible raves, and everyone just wanted him back because they liked his accent.
And he's talking about boudin balls.
Was he on Percocet?
That was Dean. They like Dean too. They keep asking when Percocet Dean's going to come back.
Mark's making me nervous because he keeps getting text messages.
Well, I'm looking here. We've actually got a call.
That's okay. Nothing for you this time.
We got a call in from our buddy Philip.
Phil called his hotline.
Phil called. Well, yeah, he did. If I could freaking find it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this call from Philip.
Hey guys, it's Phillips. Hey, good podcast. Been taking a couple weeks to think about a good topic for you guys. I think I've got one. But first, Todd, I'm with you. I'm torn between buying a new gun right now. I don't have a Glock. And everyone says I need a Glock, and they're like the Lego of handguns, it seems. Everyone has one. You can do everything and anything you want to a Glock. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on them. So I'm debating if I need to get a Glock or not, or another Smith & Wesson M&P. I like the new gen of Smith & Wesson, so I'm torn. But here's kind of the topic for you guys. You guys are talking about how the government comes in, or has came in a few times during times of distress, taking guns, stuff like that. Do you guys consider that government overreach? And I know there's been new laws put in place, but future laws, especially with all these mass shootings and stuff, I'm with Mark. Don't blame the gun, blame the shooter. It's a mental illness, obviously. But with some of the new laws going into effect, including guns and stuff like drugs and marijuana and weed being legalized, it's not here in Indiana where I live. And I know you guys are kind of over towards some of those legal states where it is legalized. Do you think that could create a potential issue of people just being high as fuck and having guns and something going wrong there? I'm of the mindset of no drugs, no alcohol, no nothing when you're handling firearms. But you never know when you're gonna have to handle one in self-defense. So is it a good idea to be high and carrying a gun, or have legal marijuana and carrying a gun? So just couple thoughts to talk about, futures of guns and, yeah, I don't see semi-autos doing much difference. Maybe revolvers getting a few more calibers, but that's about it. But good podcast. Hope you hear.
That was Philip. He called his hotline, and Philip had a question for us, and then he had a statement. Philip said he was going to buy. Everyone's telling Philip to buy a Glock. Do we think Philip should buy a Glock?
The Lego of handguns.
The Lego, $1,000 Lego set. That's what he said. I don't know. I picked up my G19 for about $500.
Right.
I say yes, you should buy the Glock. And
everyone
buy the Glock 19.
Yeah, everyone should have a G19.
Unless you got like a huge hand that you can't fit the grip, but the Glock 19 is the way to go.
Or the Glock 21. Or the Glock 30.
Buy a Glock, Philip.
Buy a Glock, Philip.
The 19X is a lot of fun. I mean, it's a cool gun.
The 19X makes 100% no sense to me.
Is that the one with the hatchet and the hammer
love it.
and the keychain and the?
Yeah, it's made so you can carry
It's a lanyard attachment.
You can catch your. I got a picture someone put on their keys on it.
That's awesome.
No, I personally like it. So
the 19X is nothing but a glorified keychain.
The 19X just makes no sense. I don't understand it. It's a brown Glock. That's all it is.
It should have won the contract, if you ask me.
So what do you're pretty quiet over there. You got kind of a smug look on your face.
No, I just found it interesting that Phil said, everyone's telling me I need to buy a Glock. I don't know if I should or if I should just get another Smith & Wesson, implying that he has Smith & Wessons.
Right.
So, I mean,
I guess buy what you like, right?
There's nothing wrong with a Smith. I love my Smith, my 2.0. I love it. I mean,
I say celebrate diversity. Get one of each.
Yeah.
Get a brown one, get a black one.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't even have a brown one or a black one yet.
I say buy a Glock. I have two. Yeah. I have two.
Oh.
I've got one. Quickly looking for two more that I'm going to paint orange.
19X?
No,
I'll tell you right now, the one thing I don't like about the Glock is the sights. I'm not a big fan of the sights. So I change them out to the night sights and 3-dot system.
And away you go. It's all good.
Just don't use the sights when you shoot. It's okay.
Yeah,
Grind them babies off.
Yeah, if it's a Glock, just point and shoot, but not out your window.
So
of a moving vehicle.
Do we do it out of your window? Oh,
sure.
We've solved all Phillips gun buying. Gun purchasing problems.
What was his? This is a marijuana.
Oh, marijuana.
Drugs. And
we're surrounded by marijuana here
states
in Idaho.
that are legalizing, marijuana, and
don't do anything.
Also allowing firearms. You shouldn't be under the influence or in possession of a firearm when under the influence.
Exactly.
That kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, definitely.
The libertarian in me says we shouldn't have to regulate this. We shouldn't have to pass laws for this because it's common sense. But Todd,
what?
There are.
Which path do we want to go now? We want to talk about guns and drugs, or just drugs? Period. Because I can go down that.
I know. That's a rabbit hole too.
Yeah,
let's keep it to guns and drugs.
Let's keep it to guns and drugs.
Guns and drugs.
If you're under the influence, it's illegal to have a firearm anyway.
It is
correct.
Right.
It is
right. So.
What about do you know anything about this, Dan? If you have a medical marijuana card and you're able to keep so much on your person, is that
what about Phil might be
firearms?
kind of alluding to those kinds of things that could be difficult, where you do have a gun owner, gun possessor who rightfully and legally in some states can possess certain amounts of medical marijuana. But then again, I think the officers would use, their not discretion, but I think that if they were under, it's one thing to say I have a medical marijuana card, but I think I would probably maybe take enforcement action if they were under the influence and I was able to show that and they were in possession of a firearm.
Right. So here's my question. Right. Okay. Right. So we're worried about being high and having a firearm. That's a bad combination. We all know that. Okay. You have alcohol, right? People drink. That's typically legal everywhere. Okay. At a certain age, that kind of thing. I mean, and I know there's probably a few problems with that, but it is what it is. Do you see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, it is what it is. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and it's not right. And I don't agree with it. I'm
going to look at it from the federal standpoint, and basically because of me selling guns, there is a question on the 4473 form that asks, are you habitual or whatever.
Habitual user
of marijuana or other depressants. And I have people from out of state that, in a state that it's legal, that ask me, well, I have a license to have this.
That means nothing in the state of Idaho.
And I tell them, well, that's great. Go ahead and answer that. Yes, I dare you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell them how to answer it, but I hope one day that they're just going to answer yes to that, because then I can instantly deny them the firearm.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I guess if we just want to come right out and say it, you have some states that recognize medical marijuana. They recognize some marijuana use, right? Federally, that's a state. Federally, it's illegal.
Yes.
And if you cannot, I don't think they care if you have a medical marijuana card or not. Federally, it's illegal. If you fill that out as yes, you are a habitual user or whatever the question is, they're probably going to deny you anyway, more than likely. So federally, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just up to local law enforcement what they want to do if they catch you with one.
So, I bet that 99% of states and counties and cities, you have state law, you have county ordinances, you have city ordinances, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find very many jurisdictions that do not have a law or ordinance that prohibits anyone, from being in possession of a firearm while under the influence of any intoxicating substance.
Right.
And immediately people start thinking about like DUI and, 0.08 or, legal. No, those statutes are specific under the influence of any.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't care if you had a medical marijuana card. If you were under the influence of any intoxicating substances and I found you in possession of a firearm.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's over. And Idaho's funny when it comes to alcohol because people
agree with that. That's how it should be
interpreted. Yeah. And people think that in Idaho you have to blow a certain percentage when it comes to alcohol. You just have to have a freaking sip. If you smell like it, if they can prove that you've taken a sip and you got a firearm on you, right? You're done. Yeah. That's it. That's all she wrote. Mm-hmm. So, anyhow, Philip, I hope that answers your question. Enjoy your new Glock or your Smith & Wesson, whatever you decide to buy.
Send a picture, whatever you buy. So even if it's a fancy gun.
We're going long on this podcast here, boys, and I like it. So we have one more question I want to squeeze in. So we're caught up on the questions, and then we'll wrap it up. So this one comes to us from my good buddy up in Boise area. Comes to us from Josh.
Hey guys, this is Josh from here in Nampa. Hey, so real quick, I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he kind of relayed a story to me that I figured I'd relay to you guys, so we could have an open discussion about it. Anyways, this guy several years ago had gotten home and noticed his neighbor outside of her house, and went over to talk to her and found out that she had just called the police because she had seen someone in her house when she pulled into her driveway. Anyways, he decided that instead of waiting for the police, that he was going to draw his own gun and go inside and clear her house for her, which he did. He finished before the police got there. Apparently the back door was open, whoever it was had left. But he was very upset when he got outside, and he was standing there talking to her while he was still holding his gun in his hand, and the police pulled up and demanded that he drop his pistol and get on the ground, et cetera. The usual, what you would expect from law enforcement in that situation. Anyways, I just kind of want to call this in because, that's something that should only be done under very, very extenuating circumstances. So I just figured I'd give you guys a call and kind of tell you about it a little bit so you guys could just...
Okay, that was our good friend Josh from Boise called in with a little story. He was talking to a friend of his, and his friend was relating the story. Said that he had come home from work one day and he noticed his neighbor was out in the front yard. So he went over to talk to her, and she stated that she had just got home. She walked up to her house and found the door was open. So she had called law enforcement to come over, and she didn't go in the house. She was a little nervous, thought someone maybe was in there. This guy thought he'd be, I don't know, a good neighbor, or I don't know what his deal was, but he got his firearm, he drew his firearm, and he went in and he cleared the house. And as he got done clearing the house, he didn't find anyone in there. He came back out, and then sounds like law enforcement showed up. He still had his gun out, and they kind of got excited, as they should, and they asked him to get on the ground, put his gun out. I think everything ended up okay in the end. But my take on it is, There's nobody in the house. No one's in no one's in danger, immediate danger right then and there. The lady's in the front yard. She saw something was wrong. She called law enforcement. At this point, I admire the guy for wanting to help out his neighbor, but you know what? Let law enforcement show up and do it. It's not even his house. He doesn't know the layout of it. You kind of need to be trained in how to clear a house properly, or you're just walking into a place, and if there is someone in there, you don't know where they're at. You don't know the layout of the house, especially if it's not yours. It's going to be hard enough in your house, let alone someone else's, so you don't know the floor plan. Law enforcement was coming. There was no need to go in there. It's not like she said, my 2 kids are in there. I called law enforcement, but there's someone in there. I can hear him. Nobody was in the house. In my mind, he shouldn't have gone in there. And if you do go in there, know that if law enforcement shows up and you have a firearm on you and they see it, they don't know what's going on. They just know that this lady called in and said she thought someone was in their house, was in her house. They show up, there's a guy with a firearm. They're going to get a little excited, and they're going to do what they need to until they figure out what's going on. I mean, I don't know this for sure. Josh's phone call cut off. They probably cuffed the guy, and they probably put him in the back of the car until they figured out what was going on. You kind of deem someone a threat to public safety until you figure out the story and figure out what has happened. I mean, am I too far out of whack stating that?
No, not at all. That is spot on. Absolutely spot on. Because once again, it goes back to, she has already called the police. She has told the dispatcher that she believes someone's in her home. And then they dispatch police. Doesn't sound like they're on the phone with her anymore. So she's not able to update the dispatchers and say, oh, hey, my neighbor's got his gun and he's going to go check the house for me. She's out. She's safe. There's no one else that's in the house that, occupant-wise that lives there. No one's at risk. Stay with her, keep her safe, comfort her. Go sit across the street on your own lawn and let the cops show up and do it. It could have gone. What if he would have still been in the house?
Exactly.
Checking it, clearing it when the officers got there, and here's this frantic lady who is, what is she saying? Is she saying someone's in my house, or is she saying my neighbor's in my house? That's not going to clarify for the officers
anything. That's a great way to put it.
They think they're being dispatched to.
Yeah, they're going to, and he's got a firearm to boot. And then you hinted toward the point as well. So she's outside the house. No one's in the house. So you're going to leave her and go inside the house. What if someone comes out while you're in there and then no one's there to protect this lady? That's like me being in, and we're going to take this a different direction. That's like me being in the movie theater and someone comes in shooting. I'm in there with my wife and my kids. I have to make a choice, and hopefully I've made the choice beforehand. And I tell everyone in my class this: you need to make a choice now. What are you going to be? And I stand up and I state, I'm not here to be a hero to you, or you. I'm here to protect my family and the ones that I love, especially if they're with me. Right. And what I'm going to do in that theater is I'm going to draw my firearm and figure out how to get them out of there, or I'm going to draw that firearm and we're going to hunker down until the fight comes to me. I'm not going to stand up and attack, you know what I'm saying? Attack the shooter. The same way as I'm not going to abandon my family. I'm not going to abandon this lady. You don't know what's happening. It's like in the middle of the night, someone beats on your door, okay, or something like that, and you get drawn outside with your firearm. Your family's in there by themselves. Is there a guy at the back door trying to get in?
Exactly.
Are they gonna kick your ass and then go in and get your family and then what's your family up to? Sorry, it's kind of I hate it when people try to be. Hate it when people try to be the hero and there's not a need to be. There's not an immediate threat. Does that make sense?
That's kind of like that one video I sent, Mall Vigilante.
And I didn't get to watch that one.
Oh, well, yeah.
I watched that one.
Okay, yeah.
And same thing. That guy should have minded his own business.
I mean, the people were shoplifting.
Everyone around him in trouble.
And so he decided to take the law into his own hands. And, the lady started driving away and he started shooting at her in the middle of this mall parking lot.
Oh, hell. Businesses are insured for stuff that's ripped off.
I mean, yeah, right? So I'm just like, whoa! You really should watch that video.
I will.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So
anyway.
Interesting. Don't try to be a hero. That's not. You just no. Anytime though, anytime, and maybe you do draw your firearm. Maybe you are holding someone at gunpoint. The police show up. They have limited information they're going to go off of. They're probably going to tell you, put the gun down, throw the gun down, get on whatever, show me your hands. They may cuff you. They may put you in a car and you may go to, especially if you've shot someone or shot at someone, you may go to jail for a night or two until they figure out what's going on. That's just the way it works. I mean,
I got proned out once.
Well, there you go.
I got proned out once.
Yeah. I've been proned out twice. That's another podcast. Okay. That's another. No, I'm serious. By law enforcement on the hood of a car up against a building early in the morning.
Okay.
Whatever. That's another podcast.
Right. But the best thing to do in a scenario like that is just obey the officer's demands and just don't be an idiot. Just do what they say.
Yep. There you go. So, you got anything to add, Dean? Or we covered all.
It's covered well. Yeah.
Oh man, we're an hour.
Dean's impressed.
We're an hour and 20 minutes into this.
I'm speechless. I don't even have anything stupidly witty to say.
Dean's never freaking speechless. So that's a good show then. So what's our number? So if you want to be famous like Philip or Josh, you can call into our hotline, and that number is
the podcast hotline is 1-208-696-4397. Again, the podcast hotline 1-208-696-4397.
And if you just call in, tell us the story, ask us a question, tell us we suck. We don't care. We like all kinds of feedback. And if you don't want to call in, you can catch us on email. That's patriotdefense13@yahoo.com. patriotdefense13@yahoo.com. And we still have about a week and a half left. Our contest. We haven't got that many entries.
Yeah. Have there been any in our?
There's been
just
a few.
A couple I saw.
There's a few.
It's tapered off quite a bit.
I saw Phillips. Maybe Philip can send us a picture of his new Glock in a crappy carry holster.
Phillips already sent us a picture.
But that wouldn't be a fancy gun.
That would.
Right.
So it's gotta be a hashtag crappy carry, hashtag fancy gun. It's got to fit both those. You need to tag them. You need to post them on the Patriot Defense Facebook page. And then someone's going to win something. Dean, quit laughing. So we want you to go out on the hunt, okay? We don't like these staged. Go out on the hunt. Go into Sportsman's Warehouse.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
Go into freaking Walmart. It's summertime. People aren't wearing that many clothes. I've seen weird crap at freaking Walmart, okay? I've seen people... Yeah, I've seen all kinds of people carrying their firearms with no magazine and the slide lock back.
In the pocket. I
mean, I've seen it all.
But yeah, just don't get yourself in trouble. Don't cause a scene or anything. But
Josh kind of likes to hunt.
I think so.
Josh, he goes out, he hunts them down every single week.
I had many opportunities to get pictures, but they weren't fancy guns. And they weren't really crappy carry. They were actually pretty decent stuff, so...
Really? Yeah. So maybe that's the podcast. We're educating
maybe
people.
Twin Falls just raised the bar.
I mean, we see it at the gun counter a lot. I wish I could take a picture of the guy that pulls his gun out to show me it. But,
Don't you have security cameras right there?
Oh,
Can't you
I
go
do.
back and get screenshots?
Yeah.
Man, that'd be the best.
They're gonna not let you pull those.
No,
you can't pixelate faces.
Probably not.
They're no fun.
Right. So. You can tell them by their Leonard Skinnerd shirts.
The fancy guns.
Right.
Fancy guns. Yeah. So anyhow, I think you guys done? You guys good?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Dan.
No, I had fun. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You're welcome back. If I don't screw up editing this, then we'll send you a link.
Dan, you got to come back. We got to redo it because
you might have
your voice wasn't on.
I don't know. Whatever Dan said, if you can repeat that, I don't know, because that was awesome.
Yeah. That was. I think I'll do okay. I usually save it twice. I have 2 copies in there. But
I think he said "got stick rock." I think
stick rock.
Yeah, that was kind of the phrase.
Okay.
So you're welcome back anytime, Dan.
It's fun.
Hopefully you had a good time in the war room. It's getting dark and kind of creepy in here, so we got to go. Anyhow,
that fly's getting progressively more aggressive.
He's gotten bigger since we've been in here.
Serious. I mean, he goes over in the corner. I think he's feeding on one of your mounts.
He's twice the size he was.
I got something dead in here somewhere. I'm not sure. Anyhow, okay, we're out of here, guys. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.